Welcome back to the Pure Love Marriage Revolution. Thank you for being here, taking time out of your busy schedule, and being open to continue exploring this hopeful message, a message that humanity has never known before. This is the second presentation of our three-part series. Before we dive into the main content, may I share a bit about myself? Before I heard this message, I was a lost teenager who thought that marriage was just a piece of paper. When I encountered this message, I not only found peace in my heart and what I call true freedom, but also discovered the purpose of my life. I stopped dating and began preparing my heart for my one true love, knowing we would meet when the time was right. Today, my husband and I have been gratefully married for over 40 years. The pure love culture has been expanding by building strong marriages and families and pure love communities that transcend race, nationality, denomination, and religion. We are on the way to renewing the nation and the world. We hope that you will join us in this truly historic providential moment. In the first video, we explored the internal causes of the decline of prosperous civilizations. We also briefly analyzed some of the most destructive consequences that sex outside of marriage has brought to America. This second video presents 5 revelations that for the first time in human history can help us address the decline of great civilizations by building loving and lasting marriages. The third presentation will outline the solution, the plan for how these revelations are being implemented locally and globally today, and how you can be part of it. In this presentation, we will uncover 5 key revelations. 1. The secret seed, the hidden seed of the United States prosperity. 2. The cause of the downfall of absolute monogamy in prosperous civilizations. 3. New hope for struggling Christians. We can start anew. 4. A model marriage to learn from. 5. The true liberation of women and men. The recurring problem of the decline of civilizations is being solved in our time. We are truly living in a most blessed era in human history, and you are being called to be part of it. Let's begin by taking a moment to revisit the key points from our initial presentation. Societies where both women and men were free to change partners at will were categorized as zoistic societies. We learned that societies that lack any form of chastity, thus living in a state akin to animal solidarity, do not develop, even after thousands of years. On the other hand, deistic societies insisted on prenuptial chastity, meaning no sex of any kind before marriage. These societies flourished and grew into great civilizations. We logically concluded that despite the USA making enormous mistakes in her short history, the most fundamental reason for her rapid development is her roots in God and traditional sexual ethics. Unfortunately, the great civilizations of the past, classified as deistic societies, transitioned into rationalistic societies. They abandoned the principles that initially made them prosperous. adopted liberal attitudes towards sexuality, and collapsed within just 3 generations. Which means that a married family is profoundly important for a stable society, Joseph Unwin discovered to his own astonishment. Sadly, the sexual revolution brought sex outside of marriage. The sexual revolution shattered lives in and outside of the womb, destroyed marriages, broke the family apart, and damaged the next generation, as well as the community and the society. And unless we stop it, the sexual revolution will continue its ravages and bring the nation's decline into an irreversible economic collapse. Today, we are fighting for the survival of the next generation, our children and our grandchildren. Where are we? Are you confident that you can protect your children and grandchildren against this huge wave of confusion? Will good laws be enough? Did the problem start with the legal system? Or is it deeper? Does lamenting about it solve the problem? Does ignoring it solve it? So we are truly in a state of emergency. We are at a crossroads between life and death of this society. We can choose to believe that the situation is beyond our control, that there is little we can do, or that we are already doing our best. If we continue to think this way, our children and grandchildren will continue to be the victims of this confused and troubled world. Or we can choose to be open to change. If we want something different, we must think differently and do something different. Did you know that during a noisy sexual revolution of the 1960s, another revolution was quietly taking place? The pure love marriage revolution taught me and many young people the spiritual, emotional, and concrete multiple benefits of saving sexual intimacy for marriage in such a way that we will not think twice anymore about it. It is a revolution. It is such great news that amid this world plagued by promiscuity, sexual addiction, and moral decadence, a pure love revolution was born, is growing, and has become an unstoppable moral awakening. If it is possible to create a society where our children's bodies, minds, and hearts are free to grow in purity, wouldn't you want to help build it? Remember how great civilizations were built. They were founded on strict sexual ethics, where marriage was a lifelong union. Isn't it one of our greatest desires that we have in life to have a love relationship that grows deeper every day, every week, and every year? Some couples are achieving this. My husband and I are living proof. And I know many couples, like the one we see on the slides here, who are on this path also. The difference between the pure love revolution couples and most other couples in the world is only that we have learned something that the world doesn't know yet. We were made aware of a few revelations. Yes, revelations. Let's explore what this word means. From the Webster Dictionary, a revelation is an act of revealing or communicating divine truth, something that is revealed by God to humans, an act of revealing to view or making known, something that is revealed especially, like an enlightening or astonishing disclosure, a pleasant, often enlightening surprise. Our 5 revelations are all of this. We at the Pure Love Movement are raising our voices to shout that God wants America to restore family-centered morality. Those 5 revelations lay the groundwork to accomplish this lofty goal. They may surprise you and will empower you. Number 1, the secret seed of the United States prosperity. Number 2, the cause of the downfall of absolute monogamy. Number 3, Christianity is struggling, but by changing our course, there is great hope. 4, a model marriage in our time. Number 5, the true liberation of women, the one that liberates not only women, but also men and the entire family. Get ready to unlock new insights into how God is actively shaping our world today. We are now going to discover the secret seed of the United States conception, birth, growth, and prosperity in a way you may never have thought before. The Pilgrim Fathers loved God so much that they turned their back on a world devoted to making money and risked their lives to find religious freedom. Along with their devotion to God, they brought to this continent the beautiful tradition of strict sexual ethics. From the 50 pioneers who survived the first winter, traditional family values were imported to the New World and passed down from generation to generation until the 1960s. Here we went, from the Mayflower to building the most prosperous nation on earth in just 200 years, until the sexual revolution took over, bringing sex outside of marriage and severely damaging the natural family unit. The question is, why is it that once a nation becomes prosperous, it becomes increasingly liberal concerning sexual morality? What do you think? If traditional family values are building prosperous nations, why do we abandon them? This takes us to our second revelation, the cause of the downfall of absolute monogamy. Like the first revelation, this one is gleaned from history. If absolute monogamy builds prosperous civilizations, why do we keep abandoning it? Is it because it was imposed as a law and people generally resist rules or dislike being told what to do? Is it? Let's again delve into Professor Unwin's findings. This is another astonishing discovery, revealing insights that our society is largely unaware of, but desperately needs to consider. Unwin wrote, "It seems to me that it was the unequal fate of the woman, not the compulsory continence, that caused the downfall of absolute monogamy." Unquote. Historically, only societies practicing absolute monogamy developed into prosperous civilizations. However, in these societies, women were regarded as the property of men and usually had no significant position within the social structure. Quote, "In every case, the women and children were reduced to the level of legal non-entities, sometimes also to the level of chattels, meaning slaves, always to the level of mere appendages of the male estates." Unquote. In other words, A woman was considered her husband's property and had no social rights. This inevitably would lead to a women's liberation movement. Quote, sometimes we imagine that we have arrived at the conception of the status of woman in society that is far superior to that of any other age. We feel this inordinate pride because we regard ourselves as the only civilized society that has understood that the sexes must have social, legal, and political equality. Nothing could be further from the truth. A female emancipating movement is a cultural phenomenon of unfailing regularity. Unquote. I don't know about you, but I was surprised to learn that women's liberation is not a modern phenomenon. While women should be respected as much as men are, unfortunately, this historically recurring women's movement brings with it a significant problem. What problem? In human records, there is no instance of female emancipation which has not been accompanied by an extension of sexual opportunity, meaning promiscuity. Let me repeat this. In human records, there is no instance of female emancipation which has not been accompanied by an extension of sexual promiscuity. This quote highlights the serious problem that every prosperous civilization has faced so far. The problem is not the emancipation of women, but the sexual promiscuity that accompanies it. This is a challenge that must be addressed. Can humanity solve this deeply ingrained problem without the help of our Creator? Let's look at how this has played out in ancient Rome as an example. Beginning in the mid-8th century BC, ancient Rome grew from a small town in central Italy into an advanced and sophisticated civilization. Professor Unwin's extensive research revealed that strict marital monogamy was central to their social energy and growth. By the end of the 4th century, the extended Roman Republic was absolutely monogamous, homogeneous, deistic, and extremely energetic. But women were the property of men, the man being sole judge in all matters concerning their wife and children. He could sell them into bondage. Women possessed no legal rights whatsoever. A widow was under the complete control of her guardian and possessed no power over her children. So even though this remarkable ancient city exhibited advanced architecture, engineering, law, art, and culture, which made their life a lot easier and more enjoyable, the relationship between husband and wife was so far away from one's dream, from what we call a pure love marriage. Later in this presentation, we will talk about a little bit what a pure love marriage relationship is. Starting from the end of the 4th century BC, under the pressure of women, the government leaders began to depart from their old customs. Subsequently, by the 2nd century, women were freed from any trace of marital authority. The wife became an individual on an equality with her spouse. But at what price? Free marriages became usual, made and broken by mutual consent. There was no ceremony, no registration, no formality. Marriage became unfashionable. A large number of leading citizens preferred a mistress to a wife. the parental authority also was abolished almost completely. Sumerians, Babylonians, Athenians, Roman, Anglo-Saxons, Protestant English. All these societies live in different geographical environments. They belong to different racial stocks, but the history of their marriage custom is the same. In the beginning, each society had the same ideas in regard to sexual regulations. Each society reduced its sexual opportunity to a minimum, and displaying great social energy flourished greatly. Then it extended its sexual opportunity. Its energy decreased and faded away. Many factors contribute to the fall of a great civilization. However, it is clear that there is one central cause that initiates the process, the act that has the potential to create the greatest joy or the deepest misery, the sexual relationship. If we choose joy, this act must be kept sacred, exclusively between husband and wife. This is an important question for women. In our pursuit of the personal, social, and legal respect we deserve as daughters of God, must we, women, disrespect our body and disrespect men, use them for the benefit of one or more nightstands, and in doing so, abandoning our dream of building a faithful, loving, joyful, and lasting relationship with one man, our soulmate? We have used ancient Rome as an example, but all 6 advanced civilizations that Professor Unwin profoundly analyzed follow the same pattern. Today, as you know very well, if you didn't know before, America is repeating this sad history. But we can stop it. We can build a new America. How? Here is the $1 million question. If a prosperous nation is built on strict marital monogamy, how can we preserve the sanctity of marriage without using force, but instead respecting women as much as we respect men? In other words, how can we build a loving equality between men and women and husband and wife? Professor Unwin says, no society has yet succeeded in regulating relations between the sexes in such a way as to enable sexual promiscuity to remain at a minimum for an extended period. Professor Unwin envisions a new possibility, one that history has not experienced yet. Remember, this was 1934. He suggests, quote, if a vigorous society wishes to display its productive energy for a long time, and even forever, it must recreate itself, I think, first, by placing the sexes on a level of complete legal equality. In such a case, it would achieve a higher culture than has yet been attained, unquote. Creating a legal system where men and women are treated equally is a great beginning. In 2024, we are still working on it. However, listen up here. Will laws bring happiness in marriage? Can laws change hearts? Can respect and love between husband and wife be legalized? We need something more. So the question we need an answer for is, how do we create a society where men and women are legally equal, and where husband and wives respect and love for each other keep growing forever? How do we do that? Are you ready for another revelation? Are you open? Are you eager for something new? for the sake of creating a new environment for our youth? Are you willing to take on a new challenge? One that is so hopeful and exciting. This is leading us to Revelation number 3. Has Christianity fallen victim to the free love culture? Are we facing the same challenges with our youth and marriages as the secular world? Or are we setting a godly example that inspires others to follow? Honestly, where do we stand? Over the 2,000 years of Christian history, God has sent reformers, Saint Francis of Assisi, Martin Luther, John Calvin, John Wesley, and many others. Martin Luther King. Today, I would like to share with you Dr. Samuel Moon's prophetic word toward America 50 years ago. While most of us were living our normal lives, Dr. Moon was sacrificing his life and his family to warn America of exactly what is happening today, while also offering a solution to our numerous problems. 50 years ago, Dr. Moon said, in 17th century England, the established church leaders used almost any means to suppress the Puritan movement. Those who genuinely wanted freedom of worship soon had either to flee or to be imprisoned. Their spirit was strong, but they had little power to resist and nowhere to turn. They fled. The Mayflower arrived at Plymouth Rock in New England almost in the dead of winter. November in New England is rather cold. The destiny of the newcomers could have been only starvation because there was so little food to eat. The pilgrims came to this land full of purpose and hope. They wanted to worship God, not the church. Direct communication with God was their desire. They knew that this purpose of theirs was more important than preserving their own lives. Nothing could have given them this kind of courage, this kind of dedication, this kind of sacrificial spirit, except their faith in God. But when you begin to lose this foundation, America's moral fiber will deteriorate. Let me compare two striking examples. The people who came to America, to North America, came seeking God and freedom of worship. The first motive of the European settlers was God. When they came for God, they not only found God, but they found freedom and wealth. At the same time, many people went to South America. Their sole motivation was to find gold. South America is a fertile land no less than a North American continent. But when the colonists' motivation was gold, they could find neither gold, nor God, nor freedom, and the South American countries remain underdeveloped nations. The time has come for the American people to be awakened. Because of the noble beginning of this country, God sent His blessing and promise. The sacrificial devotion of your ancestors was the foundation for God's blessing. If you betray them, if you betray God, there is only one way for America to go. It will go to destruction. Your decline will be rapid. Today, there are many signs of the decline of America. What about the American young people? What about your drug problems and your juvenile crime problems? What about the breakdown of your families? The California state government is issuing more divorce certificates than marriage license. What about your racial problems and the threat of communism? And what about the economic crisis? Why are all these problems occurring? The tone of your national entertainment media reflects this rapid disappearance of moral sense from America. American society has degenerated to such an extent that it is making Sodom and Gomorrah look trivial. The word sin refers to a violation of the law of the love of God. God abhors sin, and the misuse of love is the crime God abhors the most. Ultimately, the law and love of God will prevail. Therefore, whoever indulges in unprincipled love can only perish. America today is no exception to this rule. It must not violate the law of the love of God, or it too will be destroyed. Satan's ultimate goal is to destroy any ideal form of love, while God is working to lead humankind towards the ideal, wholesome form of love. The USA is a central nation for the Christian culture, yet at the same time, this nation has become morally degraded, particularly in love. If this trend continues, in a very short time, God will be with you no longer. God is leaving America's homes. God is leaving your culture. God is leaving your schools. God is leaving your churches. God is leaving America. There are many signs of atheism in this once God-centered nation. There have been many laws enacted that only a godless society could accept. There was a time when prayer was America's daily diet. Today, you hear prayers in American schools no longer. Christianity, without knowing God's strict standard of love, is for the most part degenerating into an institution for social functions, dancing and drinking, easily accepting the rapidly declining standards of love. America needs to repent. Famous theologians, scholars, ministers, and all Americans must repent together. We must restore God-centered morality, or else America is destined to collapse. The Roman Empire collapsed from within, and its own moral corruption, not from outside attack or infiltration. America is in far worse shape than the Roman Empire was. I came to America not for my own purposes, but because God sent me. The future of the entire world hinges on America. God has a very great stake in America. How many Christians in America are seriously crying out with fervor for God? How many American Christians feel that God's work is their own work? How many people put God first? How many are ready to die for God? Somebody must begin, and begin now. Even under persecution, somebody must begin. Somebody must give himself up for the purpose of God and bring God back home. We must create new homes where our families can be really happy, and we must finally create a new society, a new spiritual nation where God can dwell. This is the only way for this country to survive. We must create new homes where our families can be really happy. Where does happy home start? I am so grateful that I discovered the pure love movement at 19. I don't like to think what would have happened to me if I had not. Given my nature, I would have easily become another victim of the free love culture, entangled in broken relationships, contraception, maybe abortion trauma, and all the associated turmoil. But I didn't. Not because I was better, not at all, but because someone invited me to explore the teachings of the pure love movement. Now, after 42 years of a successful and fulfilling marriage, I can testify that the best foundation for marriage is sexual purity, which means no sexual experience before marriage. My husband and I are deeply thankful that someone introduced us to the pure love movement, even before we knew each other. What a wonderful legacy we are passing on to our children. So, to the question of where do happy homes start, we teach youth to keep their purity before marriage, and when they reach adulthood, to marry with the blessing of God. However, as a condition to receive the blessing of God on their marriage, they first pledge to their spouse that they will maintain absolute trust and fidelity. Thus, this is a holy movement to build true families who will serve as a cornerstone for peaceful nations and a peaceful world. Here's a quote that I like very much, and I hope you will like it too. The pure relationship of love between a man and a woman is a gift from God to be cherished and honored for the sake of building a true family, a healthy society, and a world of peace for future generations. Once that love is consummated, it should never be broken. Unfortunately, in man-woman relations, to one degree or another, we have all erred. So have our ancestors. Mentally, in our thoughts, emotionally, in our feelings, and many of us physically with our bodies. So, what do we do? In Matthew 19:25-26, we read, "Who then can be saved?" But Jesus looked at them and said to them, "With men this is impossible, but with God all things are possible." Listen, my friend, you don't want to miss this one. In today's world, with God, this sexual problem that each of us has inherited from generation to generation, from eons, this problem, we can solve it. We are truly living in a most hopeful time of human history. Something is changing. Something new is sprouting. From the ashes of the sexual revolution, one of the greatest revolutions of all time was born and is growing. Individuals, couples, families, entire communities, churches, and organizations worldwide have already joined the pure love marriage revolution. We all know that a change is needed, but where do we start? The secret of change is to focus all our energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. In other words, we never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete, which takes us to our fourth revelation. Among today's 5 revelations, this one stands out by far as the most significant. The moment this news resonates with you, your joy will be so overwhelming that you will not be able to take it off your mind. However, It's natural for profound revelations to stir mixed emotions. Some might even feel anger. If that's you, it's okay. It's okay. Are you ready to hear something you might have never even imagined before? If you are married or have ever been married, you know how challenging it can be. Here it is. God has sent a model couple to our world. This means that today, a true, perfected couple is walking among us. If you're still with me, I understand this is not something you hear every day. God has bestowed humanity with an exemplary couple. The ideal couple every young child believes their parents are, and the couples every teenager wishes their parents were. God has given us the couple we, humanity, didn't even know we needed. This model couple is Dr. Samyu Moon and Dr. Ha Jahan Moon, whom we affectionately call Father and Mother Moon. They are teaching us through both their words and their exemplary lives what we wish our parents would have taught us but couldn't, because, well, they themselves didn't know. Father and Mother Moon initiated the Pure Love Marriage Revolution, also known as the Marriage Blessing Movement, with their own holy wedding in 1960. I met them when I was 19 years old, and I am incredibly fortunate to have done so. Their influence transformed my view of marriage from being merely a piece of paper to a profound lifelong commitment. I stopped dating and began preparing for a meaningful marriage. Thus, I could avoid the countless pains and suffering that so many people experience today and have been experiencing for the past 60 years. What kind of pain? The heartbreak of broken relationships, the stress of dating game, the trauma of abortion, the risk of STDs. If I ever got married, the agony of divorce, the fear of watching my children get lost in a culture, the anxiety of not knowing the purpose of my life, the frustration of looking at this confused society and not knowing what to do. Father and Mother Moon's teaching have guided me away from experiencing those pains, helping me and many others find our clear and purposeful path in life. And for that and a lot more, I am so grateful to them. While the media have tried everything they possibly could to stop them, Father and Mother Moon have kept true to their calling, to stop the decline of nations and establish God's kingdom on earth. With Father and Mother Moon's parental love and consistent guidance, my husband and I achieved what most people only dreamed of: a stable, loving marriage of over 40 years. A marriage founded on fidelity and trust. 4 wonderful children, 10 grandchildren and counting, and a lot more. Marriage. What is marriage? Marriage is more than just a coming together of a man and a woman. Through marriage, a new future is created. Societies are formed, nations are built. God's world of peace is realized with married families at the center. For the next 12 slides, I will be reading some of Father and Mother Moon's words on restoring marriage to the way God originally intended it. In the heart of a man there is a woman whom God loves, and in the heart of this woman there is a man loved by God. When they come to praise each other, God would watch and feel happy, and the whole creation would also feel joy. The place where man and woman are loving and embracing each other becomes the place where the whole universe unites. This is God's dream for His creation. However, because of the fall, the first man and woman cut their relationship with God and with all things. They came to have a self-centered attitude about love, embrace each other, and have a relationship as they wished, without the blessing of God. Since the true spouse, the husband and wife relationship that God intended, was lost, the world has become such a troublesome one. How can we restore it? The reason why God's dream was not accomplished was because of the fall between man and woman. Therefore, a man by himself cannot correct or restore history to restore God's dream. A man and a woman must cooperate and work together to realize God's ideal marriage. And from that point, we can deal with family, social, and national problems. Without this cooperation, we cannot restore either the nation, the world, or the cosmos. Only a man and a woman who take responsibility for true cooperation and accomplish it faithfully can form a relationship with each other through God's love. Until now, this has only been a hope in God's mind. Originally, the act of love would not have been a shameful thing at all, but the most precious and sacred experience. But man violated God's principle, and history has viewed this relationship as an evil and sinful act that we should be ashamed of. Fortunately, the ideal couple that mankind has sought has been established. God and all creation are now rejoicing over the advent of the true parents of eternal value. Countless people were sacrificed throughout the ages to lay the foundation for them to come. How precious is their value. When you become husband and wife, the wife must regard her husband as an embodiment of God, and the husband must regard his wife as an embodiment of God. The husband should then raise her, thus restoring the daughter that God lost, and the wife should raise her husband, thus restoring the son that God lost. This is a path to restore the husband and wife relationship that was lost at the time of the fall. When the realm of conjugal heart is perfected, the relationship between the husband and wife also becomes absolute, unique, unchanging, and eternal, because God is absolute, unique, unchanging, and eternal. The notion of divorce will become obsolete. Theirs will be a life of happiness, filled with only blossoming flowers of mutual respect and love. From Dr. Hadja Hanmoun. My husband and I always converse intensely on various matters. We could do so out of our infinite trust in each other. We went through so much together that we could understand each other with only a look. I have scaled mountains as treacherous and impassable as any in this world. I was able to surmount them all with my husband's love, which was more than any wife has ever received. From Dr. Sam Moon. My wife has such a tremendous heart of love and care that she even gave her wedding ring to someone in need. When she sees someone in need of clothes, she buys that person clothes. When she sees someone hungry, she buys the person a meal. The older I become, the more precious my wife is to me. Introducing Revelation number 5, the true liberation of women. Quote, I launched the Women's Federation for World Peace as a movement to awaken women to their true value and have them embrace men and develop themselves in partnership with men, says Mother Moon. For the first time in human history, Father and Mother Moon, through their own life experiences, are bringing men and women to equal footing. Through the multiplication of such marriages, the decline of great civilizations is finally being addressed, paving the way for a new era. We have such great hope. Have you ever dreamt of being a pioneer? Wouldn't you want to be part of this historic awakening? Mother Moon says, the world today is calling for peace, reconciliation, compassion, love, service, and sacrifice. It is an age in which our current problems cannot be solved by the masculine logic of power. In this age, we need to solve problems and straighten out the direction of history by the feminine logic of love. Let's read a testimonial. What amazes me about Father and Mother Moon and causes me to be proud to be part of the social movement they founded is their constant pursuit of building a peaceful world for all people. They have worked tirelessly to instill in others the commitment they have to attend God by caring for humanity and creating a peaceful world for all to live in. They have boldly and courageously stood up and opposed injustices such as a crime committed in the name of communism and have inspired others to do the same. Those who have chosen to follow their example, such as myself, are emboldened by them and encouraged to do the same. Crescenta de Godi. In conclusion, to summarize presentation 1 and 2, it was because of our roots in God and godly values that the United States of America rose to become the leading nation of the world in just 200 years. But by bringing sex outside of marriage, she has followed the same self-destructive pattern as the great civilizations of the past. This has led to our broken marriages, broken families, and suffering children, lost and troubled youth who create unsafe environments and tear communities apart. This decline impacts our economy, thus weakening our nation. As a result, we are living in a state of turmoil akin to hell on earth. But the wonderful news is that today, in our time, God is giving us a way to solve this deep-rooted problem. Together with Him, we can solve our national family crisis and once again be an exemplary nation in our service to the world. This crisis, therefore, is our opportunity. Religious leaders, community leaders, parents, grandparents, do you hear the call? Let's come together to strengthen our marriages regardless of how good or how bad they are. Let's build pure communities beyond race, nationality, denomination, and religion, and so that finally again our children and grandchildren can grow up in a stable, loving, and safe environment. But how do we proceed? How do we make this happen? Where do we start? It starts with a marriage blessing. God is calling us to inherit from Father and Mother Moon's exemplary marriage. But what is a marriage blessing? Marriage has been the foundation of all great civilizations. Isn't it every man's and woman's most cherished dream to build a loving, happy, and lasting marriage? But what is the difference between traditional marriage and the marriage blessing? Or in short, we say the blessing. Through the blessing, couples dedicate their marriage to God, to each other, and to the world. In today's homes, most parents are unable to guide their children effectively, especially in such personal matters as love and marriage. Father and Mother Moon, however, through their teaching and their love, brought together young people from nearly all nations of the world and helped them realize their precious dream of love. In this way, families centered on God can come together and build pure love communities, and eventually we will build pure love nations and a pure love world. When we are able to realize such families on a wide level, on a wide scale, social breakdown will disappear. People who have become God's true children never become slaves to alcohol or drugs. Furthermore, by understanding the sacredness of the love between husband and wife, we have the moral power to stand strong against illicit and promiscuous sexual relations. Lastly, when this power is pulled together, it will carry out the work of eradicating war, racism, famine, and disease. On this foundation, we will be able to build a world where we can fully enjoy true freedom, peace, and happiness. It is in response to Jesus' call that Father and Mother Moon are inviting all the couples of the world to receive God's blessing on their marriage. To this date, hundreds of thousands of couples, representing almost every nation of the globe, have participated in a blessing ceremony. The beauty of the blessing is that it is not about denomination. No one needs to change their religious affiliation to receive the blessing. It is an event that can unite the body of Christ and all male religion as it uplifts God-centered marriage. And when families are connected to God through the blessing, it will heal our nation and will heal our world. It looks like just a marriage ceremony, but it is much more than a marriage ceremony. It is relearning to live as a man and woman, a husband and wife. It is a way of life that starts with 7 important steps. Through the 7 steps of the blessing, God is helping us to be cleansed of our past, to forgive and be forgiven, to make a new beginning as a couple, and steadily grow together, and a lot more. Imagine, just imagine, here in our city, couples from all walks of life, from all races, cultures, and denominations, coming together in a big stadium to dedicate or rededicate their marriage to God. Imagine tens of thousands of families promising their loyalty in front of heaven while studying and living this pure way of life, having peace family festivals in their neighborhoods, their churches, schools, and workplaces. Imagine raising your children or your grandchildren in a warm, loving, and safe neighborhood. Doesn't it fill your heart up just thinking about it? Here is a testimonial from an American priest and sociologist, Joseph Fichter. The unification movement has come upon a family program that works, a deeply motivated system for restoring marital fidelity and family stability in modern society. We are now going to read a few more testimonials, most of them very short. This one, a little bit longer, but is from Dominique, a long-time dear friend of mine. It is sure that if I did not meet the blessing movement with the message of sexual purity, I don't know what would have happened with my life. I am very happy that I could meet my husband and build with him a truthful relationship. Through the blessing that we received in 1982, we could strengthen our relationship and keep working for peace through the Universal Peace Federation. Our 4 sons also received the international blessing and are now happily married. We are now expecting our 6th grandchild and are very grateful to our Heavenly Parent. This testimonial is from Pastor James Elliott from Kentucky. The world is always teaching us things that lead us away from God and cause confusion, violence, and destruction. The blessing movement has expanded my vision, brought me clarity, and a deeper understanding of the Bible. Very emotional and inspiring, and we felt a lot of love. We recall a lot of struggles in the past, and we were able to forgive each other. This is a wonderful mission that Reverend and Mrs. Moon were called to, and it will help all families worldwide to become stronger. This testimony is from Pastor Barrett from Chicago. This marriage blessing is so important to me. My church in Chicago is holding an important regional rally, but I had to be here to support this blessing. This last testimonial is from Reverend Keith Allen. This is only the beginning. This marriage rededication and blessing movement will sweep across the nation. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has, once said anthropologist Margaret Mead. Are you a religious leader, a community leader, a parent, a grandparent, or a teacher with a pioneer spirit? If you lay awake at night worrying about your children because of how corrupt the society has become, if you find yourself in agony when listening to the daily news, if you wish you had a magic wand to change it all, or that Jesus would return before midnight, the true marriage revolution is calling you. We have arrived at the last and the most important slide of this presentation. I don't know if you're like me, but if you are, you don't want to be left behind. Today, I am grateful to be able to offer you this opportunity, the path to a pure, loving, and lasting marriage. This path is a foundation for building a true society, a true nation, and a true world. The only way I know to even begin creating lasting peace in the world is through pure love marriages. It starts with mine. It starts with yours. And it starts with the 7 steps of the blessing, the program that is revolutionizing the relationship between man and woman forever. There is no other opportunity in the world like this. Father and Mother Moon are without a doubt the best model marriage in the world. They are inviting you to strengthen your marriage through 7 heavenly steps and change the world. You don't have to believe me, and you should not, until you have experienced it for yourself. No matter where you are in your marriage right now, the 7 steps of the blessing will guide you to more trust, more purpose, and more companionship in your marriage. Then you will be able to help others to do the same. Your congregation, your family, your community, your business, your city. This is your chance. Join us for the upcoming live presentation, the Pure Love Marriage Revolution presentation number 3. It's your journey. It's our journey together to a brighter future. See you there.